Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to the channel. Just observing this old bee going over there to throw a bit of rubbish in one of the roadside bins there. And geez, it's hard to believe when you look at him. He's gone through a huge amount of new motorcycles this year. And look at them chatty old jeans he wears all the time and them blue shoes. Bloody same jacket too. He must truly be a real tight ass. Anyway guys, let's get into this review and forget about the guy walking along there. It looks like he bought his jeans from Kmart. So, we're talking about the 2022 model Xmax 300, which I think is possibly the best 300cc scooter you can buy on the market at the moment. Now, at this stage, I've probably had a couple of months and I've put around about 900 kilometres on it. And so far I've found it trouble-free and a really good bike to ride. Now, prior to getting this one, if anyone's aware of what goes on the channel, maybe 8 months ago I bought the 21 model Xmax and the Forza 350 and ran back-to-back comparisons with both bikes over a 10-part series, and then in the end sold them because I wanted to go back to motorbikes. Now what I was actually thinking of doing was a little bit further up the road, we'll pull over and go into the finer details on the bike and what I like about it, what I don't, why I decided this was a better bike than the other ones around, and take into account before I got to this decision on keeping the idea of going back to a Xmax 300. I'd also thought about a Vespa, a Kymco 300 I think it was, and it was one, I think I was even at one stage thinking of maybe going for either a second-hand 560 in the Yamaha, which when I looked at it around, they were around about 15,000, 13,000, 15,000 second hand. I didn't really know whether I'd want to take the plunge on one of those because it's not the trouble buying it. The trouble is I'm sometimes with bikes and cars a little bit throttle happy, and I think the 560 might get me into some problems. Going back at the beginning of this year, I bought two scooters, an Xmax 300 and the Forza 350. And they're both brand new bikes, and the reason I bought those is because I got rid of my motorcycles and I thought I'd just try scooters out. So, got on the scooter, rode them for a few tests. I actually did a 10 test series on my clips there, running all scooters everywhere. But after that period of time, found out that I missed the motorcycles too much and had to get rid of them. So, in other words, sell them. Wait a minute, I've just left this door, glove box lid undone. Yeah, so I got rid of them and went back to motorbikes, because I think most people who ride motorbikes would say that somebody that rides a scooter, they're just not like a motorcycle. And I used to think that way myself too. So anyway, I went back and bought myself two new motorbikes, rode them around for a while, but I got the urge again to buy a scooter. Now the Forza, I found out, had the more powerful motor, but it had fairly crappy suspension. Like, it really wasn't too good at all. Where the Yamaha had really good, or pretty good suspension compared to the Forza, but it was a little bit down on power. So I thought to myself, well, you know, it's a hard choice. There's no better one between the two because they've both got faults. So anyway, after having those two bikes and thinking it over a bit more, I decided which one would be the best one for me. So after, well, it didn't take long to think about it, because I always said in the clip I thought the Xmax 300 was a better bike, or scooter I should say. Now the only way I could get one of these Xmaxes, and that's the way I decided to go, was to import one from Victoria. So to prove that I thought it was worth the extra money, I had to pay $750 to have it freighted, where I could have picked up a Forza 350 straight out of the showroom over there in Canberra. So it wouldn't have cost me much at all, probably a bit over $100 to get it. So this is the one I got, sort of like it. It's got the blue wheels. So far I've put something like about 850 kilometres on it, and it really is a pleasure to ride. It's like it, out along the road now, I run it between 80 and 100 kilometres an hour. It's due for a service at 1,000 kilometres. I find that in the beginning, like its brakes were a little bit on the spongy side, because the Forza had exceptionally good front disc brakes. Like with the ABS system, it'd pull you down real quick. This will pull you down, but you've got to use a little bit more hand pressure or lever pressure. But overall, you know, if you're on the fence and you could never decide if you'd ever buy a scooter or not, I had a few of the earlier ones too, the 150s and that. Well, they were all right. They're fairly nimbly little scooters around town. But to go out on the road and do a bit of distance, you really want to get something like at least a 300. Yeah, so as far as the 300s go, I really reckon this is best in class. Like, before I come back in, I decided about these two. I was actually thinking of a Vespa, a Kimco, and a couple of other ones, but you know, the dealers are too far from me. I'd have to do a 500 kilometre round trip to get a service. Anything like that just wouldn't be worth it. Now, I might have told you that the Forza had really crappy suspension front and rear. The Yamaha, because it runs on motorcycle suspension up front, it was good up front, but a little bit disappointment at the rear. So since then, I fitted YSS rear shocks to this bike, like so. I never went for the piggyback ones because I put the YSS piggybacks, I bought those for the Forza, and the guy who bought it off me at a good price, I gave him the shocks at a good price too, like half price, and he put those shocks on it and he reckons it didn't help it much at all. I decided then I would not buy YSS piggyback shocks, and I just go for these standard type ones, which were a lot cheaper, and they perform really well on it. You know, they're not perfect, but overall this thing will scoot along. I've had it run around on dirt roads, bitumen roads, through corners, everywhere you want to go, but I haven't been given it a really hard life or anything like that. And I really like this new one too, because, you know, those blue wheels, they're really dark. They're like a dark bluey purple. You have a look. When you sit on the seat, it spreads your leg a bit. See how wide it is across there? So that's a bit of a drama. You want your legs spread, the Xmax will do it. What I might do later on is get myself what they call a comfort or touring seat for it. A couple of guys have told me they're pretty good, so that might be the way to go. I'm worried about anything on petrol consumption at the moment. I'm not all that concerned about that side. I find when you're going along, you have no trouble reading the instrumentation. They're nice, clear, easy to read. Throttle response is good with no jerky throttle. Mirrors, they're good to look out of the mirrors. And when you're out there now in some sections there where I'm cruising at 100 kilometres an hour, it just cruises so easy. It's got a huge amount of storage space, I'll show you, but I've just been out on a cook section, so it's a little bit untidy under there. But there's all the stuff I've got. I've just done a roadside cook. I don't know, I suppose if I only had one motorcycle I could sort of live with it, because once you're out on the road now cruising at 100, you know, like it'll do everything what other would do. It's twist and go throttle. You know, I don't miss the gears when I'm riding it. I was on the geared motorcycles yesterday and working the clutch, where today not the case. Wait till I turn this ignition off. There you are. Yeah, so overall, great little bike. If you're on the fence or on the market to buy yourself a scooter, don't hesitate to buy one of these Xmax 300s, because I think you'll be 100% satisfied, because after testing both those bikes in the Honda range last year, getting rid of both and then coming back, it was a fairly expensive move to do it, but I think well worth the trouble. And I'm pushing in on close on 1,000 kilometres now of my travel, so I've got a good idea how this performs. Its pickup's pretty good. You'll get off the mark a lot quicker than most cars anyway, so you won't have to worry about that. So overall, you know, a great little scooter. That factory seat, we'll go back to it. It's a little bit hard to sit on, but I think since I put the rear shocks on, the YSS, it performs a bit better. A lot of them used to think they'd buy the Forza 350 for the power screen. But when I had the power screen, I thought it was more of a novelty. And you know, sure, you're moving it to the high, low, back up to high, all the time wherever you're riding. And I found that with the previous Xmax, when I put its setting on the screen up here, you only just undo the bolt here, undo that one, take that off, undo the bolts, lift the screen up to the next setting. When I was riding both scooters, this Xmax with the screen on high and the Honda with the screen up on high, I didn't think there was much difference between either. So if you've got this idea it's going to make a difference, either scooter in the end, you're going to have to get up here and probably put a little bit of a wind deflector up there, what you can buy on eBay for about $35, and that'll help you there. But either that, or you'll be buying a different sort of screen. I also thought the fit and finish was better on the Yamaha compared to the Forza, because when I got the Forza first up, it had a few rattles in it, especially in the screen area. I know people don't like hearing negatives about bikes, but I buy them to ride and tell you the truth, compared to if you're watching some other channel. He would most likely tell you some crap because, for one, he doesn't want to offend, one, he doesn't want to lose subs, one, he wants to keep you as interested as much as he can, and all he is worried about any of the other go-to channels, they're just worried about how long you stay there for, can they make any money out of you, go to the next one. And what I mean by money, you know, with the ads on the channel, well, this has got it too, but there's not much made on this channel. You know, if you look at a clip sometimes and it only goes 1,000 or 2,000 views, you're not going to be a millionaire on YouTube. So I made up my mind, things aren't got to improve that much, so I might as well just carry on what I've been doing, tell them the truth. If they like it, they like it. All I'm telling you now, this bike here, or scooter, Xmax 300, well worth buying, and I think it would be well worth buying in any one you bought. Even go back to the first model of this one, because, you know, it's just a good scooter to ride. I wouldn't mind taking it out one time and do a 500k run on it just to see how it goes on a long distance haul. But back on the other road where I was travelling along, sitting on 100 kilometres an hour, it was doing it so easy. Sort of a real pleasure to ride. So once again, thanks for tuning in, taking a look. If you want to see more on this scooter, sub to the channel. If you like what I said about the scooters in general, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't like anything I've said about it, you can still give it a thumbs up, and we'll try to improve next time. Yeah, so once again, thanks for tuning in to the channel to take a look, and I'll catch you later.